أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم من همسه ونفخه ونفثه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد المستمعون الكرام والأفاضل السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. A very good moment, evening, afternoon, morning, and season to every one of us wherever we happen to be. So in continuation of our Ramadan Reminders, so today is the 19th series, which is automatically the 19th day of Ramadan, 1441 after Hijrah. So we are reading from the Muwatta of Imam Malik. So we started with Kitab Salat Ramadan, or Salatu fi Ramadan, that is Kitab Tarawih. That was book number 6. That was book number 6. Okay, we finished that. So we started reading and discussing Kitab Siyam, the book of fasting. So that is the book number 18, or let's say chapter 18. Okay, so we have discussed a lot. Yesterday we talked about the types of supererogatory fasting, voluntary fastings, fasting that are approved, that are liked, and those that are disliked, and so on and so forth. So in continuation with the type and kind of fasting apart from Ramadan, so we are going to read, continuing from section number 16 under Kitab As-Siyam. Okay, Kitab As-Siyam is a whole book of itself, a whole chapter of its own, but there are sections under it. So we have started from section number 1 under Kitab As-Siyam, and this is section number 16. Okay, section number 16 is related and revolves around promising. Okay, Babun Nadri aw an-nuzuri fi siyami wa siyami anil mayyiti. So this discussion about the fasting that is related to promising, oath, vowing, or the fasting on behalf of a dead person, one's dead person, relation who have died. There is a point here before we go. So this is, although about the fasting of the fasting of promise. Okay, for a good example, when we are looking for something, a position or a job or something, that we think that it is hard for us to achieve such, then we keep praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَإِنْ آتَيْتَنَا صَالِحًا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. If you answer our prayer, if you give us, if you approve our request, we are going to be thankful to you. So some of us will say, we bring an oath in that, oh Allah, if you do this, I'm going to do this. If you give me this, I'm going to fast for 3 days. If you do this, I'm going to make sujood shukr. If you do this, I'm going to help people. If you do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So, but most of us tend to forget easily. When we achieve our aims and objectives, we tend to forget our promises a lot. So such kind of promise that we make when we are in dire need of things, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a must to be fulfilled. We have to fulfill them, okay, when our wish is approved. Okay. For example, a student who sees or thinks that this examination in front of him is difficult for him to face, and takes up a oath with Allah, "Oh Allah, if I pass with A in my exams, I'm going to fast for you for 3 days. I'm going to make sadaqah. I'm going to give charity. I'm going to give this and that." Upon passing the exam, it is imperative to fulfill the promise. It is now a debt. It has now become a debt. Okay? Parents who promise their children, if you do this, we are going to do that. When that child fulfills that, you also must fulfill what you promise. You don't take anything for granted. A very simple example that we parents do is when we think we are tricking our babies or our children at home, that if they do so, we will do so. Okay, a good example, you ask your children to read and study. Or if you study well, I'm going to buy you lollipop, I'm going to give you candy. When they finish studying, that is already a promise you should fulfill by giving the lollipop and candy. Failure to do that, you have not fulfilled the promise that you made. And you are not laying good example of promise fulfillment to the children. So we have to be very, very careful about that. Very, very careful about that. Okay? So a child that doesn't want to go to school, then you think that you could trick him that, oh, before you come back from school, I will buy ice cream. You will find ice cream in the fridge. And when the child comes and returns from school, there is no ice cream in the fridge because the child rushed directly upon entering the house to the fridge. No ice cream. The parents must produce ice cream because you have promised. To lay a good foundation of promise fulfilling for the children, you have to fulfill everything, every single thing. You don't joke about anything. I'm going to buy you a balloon. I'm going to celebrate your birthday. I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that. You have to fulfill it the moment the child fulfills what you want from him. So that is a very general note that we wish to point out before we continue the reading. So this discussion is about an-nuzuru, taking an oath, making a promise, fulfilling promise of fasting. Part 1. Part 2, fasting on behalf of one's deceased person. So we read from Hadith number 42. حدثني يحيى عن مالك أنه بلغه عن سعيد بن المسيب أنه سئل عن رجل نذر صيام شهر هل له أن يتطوع فقال سعيد ليبدأ بالنذر قبل أن يتطوع. So Yahya relates through Malik that he heard authoritatively from Sa'id ibn Musayyib, okay, that Sa'id ibn Musayyib or Ibn Musayyib, either of the two ways it could be read in the two ways, Ibn Musayyib or Ibn Musayyib, so both ways are established, okay, that he received information that Sa'id ibn Musayyib was inquired, his opinion was sought about a person, nadhara siyama shahrin, who promised fasting for a month. Okay, perhaps someone was looking for something in front of Allah, and he promised that if Allah gives that or achieves and approves of his request, he was going to fast for a whole month. Okay, and the person's requests have been granted and approved. So the person was confused of would he have to engage on 1 month fasting, and also at the same time he wants to make voluntary fasting. Okay, suyamu tatawu, like he wants to fast Mondays and Thursdays and so on and so forth. So which one do he start with first? So Sa'id ibn Musayyib was inquired, okay, was asked about the direction. So the response was that قال سعيد ليبدأ بالنذر قبل أن يتطوع. He has to start fasting the promised fasting before engaging on any other voluntary fasting. For instance, he has to engage on 1 month fasting that he promised, finish that first, then after that he can engage in any other voluntary fasting like Mondays and Thursdays that he wants to do. But to start with voluntary fasting, having a depth of full month of promise of fasting, so that is not accurate. So the way to go about it is fasting the promise first, then fulfilling the promise first, then then he fasts any other voluntary ones that he wants to fast. Okay, so in similar way, in similar explanation, okay, in way of tripping our children, in way of tripping our children, okay, you say, if you pass this exam, I'm going to buy you a telephone, for example, just a telephone. I'm not saying buying telephone for children is a good idea for now, but you promise that if you pass this exam, I'm going to get you a new phone. A new phone. Okay? And when he or she passes the exam, then you say, oh, sorry, I cannot afford buying a new phone now. Okay, I give you my old phone instead. No, that is, you didn't promise your old phone to the child. You promised you mentioned buying a new phone to the child. So it is imperative to buy the new phone. Then you come with another suggestion. Okay, what about if you pass next year, okay, then I will buy the new phone. I will buy the new. So I will buy you a bigger phone if you pass the next exam. Okay, just no. You fulfill this one promise first. The promise that you have made first, you fulfill that one. You buy the new phone first now. Then you see whether you want to make another promise or not. So we have to be a good practice to be emulated. Okay, so that is about that. Okay, in continuation to that, with that, حدثني عن مالك أنه بلغه أن عبد الله بن عمر كان يسأل هل يصوم أحد عن أحد أو يصلي أحد عن أحد فيقول لا يصوم أحد عن أحد ولا يصلي أحد عن أحد. Okay, so the first hadith is related to promising. Okay, promising and fulfilling, taking oath and fulfilling the oath. Okay, so the second hadith, which is hadith number 43, so it's related to fasting on behalf of a dead person, of a deceased relative. Okay, so whether it is okay to fast on behalf of somebody who have died, or to pray, even to make salat, like for example, one's parent was sick for 5 or few days before he died. He was sick for few days before he died, and within these few days that he was sick, he could not observe the 5 daily obligatory prayers. So eventually the parents died. So would the children have to pray those 5 days obligatory on behalf of their dead parent, or they do not have to do it? Okay, so this is in equal relation. So and in similar circumstance, a parent who was sick during Ramadan, okay, sick during Ramadan, and sick for few days, eventually dying in Ramadan, but the few days that he was sick, he could not fast. And it is stipulated that anyone who was sick or traveling during the Ramadan could break the fast, could stop the fasting, but pay it back on another day. But that ayah is specifically to those who are alive, not those who are dead. Not those who are dead. Specifically on those who are alive. They were sick during Ramadan and they are still alive after Ramadan. They should pay back while alive. So the ayah is not specifically implying that we should fast or pay back the fasting on behalf of a dead parent who died during Ramadan, living few days of Ramadan without fasting. So in this circumstance, so this hadith is related through Malik, who says, أنه بلغه أن عبد الله ابن عمر كان يسأل هل يصوم أحد عن أحد أو يصلي أحد عن أحد فيقول لا يصوم أحد عن أحد ولا يصلي أحد عن أحد. So that Malik said that he heard the report that Abdullah ibn Umar was asked concerning fasting on behalf of one's dead relative. Okay, and it's like, simply put, هل يجوز لأحد أن يصوم نيابة عن ميته أو يصلي عن ميته أم لا? So very simply put, is it possible, is it good, is it approved to fast on behalf of a dead relative, or to pray Salat al-Khams, okay, the obligatory prayers, on their behalf or not? So the response is, so هل يصوم أحد عن أحد? Can someone fast on behalf of the other, or yusalli ahadun an ahad, or pray on behalf of the other? On the other here, the dead ones. Okay, فَيَقُولُ لَا يَصُومُ أَحَدٌ عَنْ أَحَدٍ وَلَا يُصَلِّي أَحَدٌ عَنْ أَحَدٍ. Okay, that no one is imperated. It is not imperative on one person to fast on behalf of the other who is dead, or to pray on behalf of the other who is dead. But again, we have to clarify here. There is a very important point to clarify here. So this is different from a promise made by the dead person, by the dead relative before dying. For a good example, one's parent promised giving scholarship to somebody, to a student, before he died, that the next semester I'm going to pay your school fees, I'm going to give you scholarship for your education. And before that was written, it was already a promise. So before the next semester come, the parent died. And the inheritors they are to fulfill this obligation of promise. So this is a promise. Okay? That is one. Number two, one's parent promised that had a promise, a fasting, a promised fasting before he died, from a nuzur, from a promise. Okay? And we know about it, that I am going to fast after my child passed the exam. And the child passed the exam, the parents have not been able to fast. So that kind of fasting, so the children could fast it in fulfillment on behalf of their parents. But what we are talking about here, that it is not right for one to carry the burden of the other, is the obligatory act of ibadah. So Ramadan, for instance, okay, Salawatul Khams, for instance, okay, so one could not do that. Okay, but if it is related to promise, like one's parent promised making Hajj, okay, promised, saved money to perform Hajj before he died, and it was a promise that next year, this is the money, I'm going to use it to perform Hajj. So that parent died before the Hajj of the next year comes. So it is imperative on the children to use the money to make Hajj and perform that Hajj on behalf of the parent. We have it recorded so in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Because it is recorded clearly in the Quran, وَأَوْفُوا بِالْأَهْدِ إِنَّ الْأَهْدَ كَانَ أَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. You fulfill the promises that you have made, because it will be asked. You will be inquired about the promises that you made. So this is the promised fasting, the promised act of ibadah, Hajj that were promised, sadaqah, and so on and so forth. So those promises were to be fulfilled by the heirs, by the inheritors. But we are talking of a parent who was sick for a few days, and during those few days he could not observe his daily fast, daily obligatory prayers, and eventually died after a few days, 5 days, let's say, for instance. So it is not imperative on the children to pray back the 5 obligatory days prayer on behalf of their father, because he is dead and the deed is caught. Okay, so that is just the simple explanation that we have to make in there. So the next section is related to Qada'u wal Kafarat. Qada'u is one thing, Kafarat is another thing. Qada'u of Ramadan is to pay back the actual number of days we missed in Ramadan. That is Qada. Example, a woman who, due to nature, missed 3 days in Ramadan and will have to pay back that 3 days after Ramadan. So that is Qada'u. That is Qada'u. Okay, paying back, paying what you owe in Ramadan after Ramadan. That is Qada'. Kafara is expiation. Expiation meaning to say removing a sinful act from one's body. Okay, doing an act of ibadah in order to erase one's sinful act. Okay, a good example of this, one who breaks one's fasting intentionally during the day of Ramadan, one who intentionally ate and drank or perform an act that could nullify the fasting during the day of Ramadan intentionally. So the person have to make kafara, not qada. Okay, and kafara is either of the three: fasting 60 consecutive days, feeding 60 poors, releasing or freeing a maid, slave. So those are kafara. So someone who killed another person intentionally will be killed. So that is the qisas. You kill intentionally, you will be killed. But someone who kills unintentionally by mistake, for example, they were fighting, okay, with another person, and he did not intend that the fasting will lead to the opponent's death. So eventually the person fell down and died. So that is qatlu amdan, yani khata'an. So unintentional killing by mistake. So the kafara, what he will do is kafara. So either of the three options: itqu raqaba, freeing a slave; siyamu shahrayn mutatabi'ain, fasting 2 consecutive months; it'amu sittina miskinan, feeding 60 poor. So this is the clarification between al-qada'u and al-kafara. So we're going to talk about qada'u and kafara, things related to repaying back and expiating one's sin. حدثني يحيى عن مالك عن زيد ابن أسلم عن أخيه خالد ابن أسلم أن عمر ابن الخطاب أفطر ذات يوم في رمضان في يوم ذي غيم ورأى أنه قد أمسى وغابت الشمس فجاءه رجل فقال يا أمير المؤمنين طلعت الشمس فقال عمر الخطب يسير. الخطب يسير يعني القضية. الخطب هنا يعني القضية، يسير يعني قليل. القضية يسير يعني قليل. وقد اجتهدنا يعني قد حاولنا. قال مالك يريد بقوله الخطب يسير يعني القضاء فيما نرى والله أعلم وخفة مؤونته ويسارته يقول نصوم يوما مكانه. Okay, so in this regard of qada, relating to qada, Yahya relates from Malik, who reports from Zayd ibn Aslama that Aslama collects it from his brother Khalid ibn Aslam. He was the one who reports that Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab mistakenly broke his fasting one day. After that yawmin fi Ramadan, he broke his fasting in Ramadan one day. And why? Fi yawmin dhi ghaymin, on a cloudy day. On a cloudy day. Okay, they have prayed Zuhur, for example, and they have prayed Asr. Okay, after Asr, the weather became so dark, it was cloudy, and the weather atmosphere looked dark. وَرَأَى أَنَّهُ قَدْ أَمْسَى وَغَابَتِ الشَّمْسِ. So he saw that it was night, okay, and the sun has set. Okay, he saw the sun has set and the day was dark. So therefore, it was legal for him to break his fasting. So, but upon breaking his fasting, so perhaps in between breaking fasting and preparing for Maghrib, in his house, not outside. Someone came knocking on his door. Someone came knocking on his door, informing him that, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, O the commander of the believers, Tala'at Shamsu, the sun has risen again. The sun came out again. Okay, it's like someone who witnessed Umar breaking his fasting. Someone who witnessed Umar with the same, under the same weather, atmospheric condition, sunset, it was dark, and he broke the fasting along with Umar, radiallahu anhu. So Umar was breaking his fasting in his house. The person was breaking his own fasting, but happened to come out and saw that the Shamsu, the sun, has risen again. The cloud, the darkness has gone, has been withdrawn. So he came to inform Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab about it. And Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab says, Al-Khatbu Yasirun. So the matter is very simple. The case is a small case. It is a small matter. What it means by it is a small matter here, Al-Khatbu yani Al-Qadiyya. Al-Qadiyya here means our situation and solution is a very simple one. The solution is a very simple one, meaning to say, what we have to do, all we have to do is just fast one day back after Ramadan. وَقَدْ اجْتَهَدْنَا. We have tried. We thought that it was dark. We thought that the sun has set. So, but we were proven wrong. So it was not by intention. It was unintentional. We acted right, but we were proved wrong. Okay, so the case is a very simple one. We just have to pay back that 1 month. Okay. قال مالك يريد بقوله الخطب يسير. Okay, Malik explains that what he means by al-khatbu yasirun, yani the issue, the matter is a very simple one. It's a small matter. What Umar ibn Khattab means by small matter is al-qada'u. Okay, paying back 1 day that they mistakenly broke. Okay, fima nara wallahu alam wa khiffata ma'unatihi. And he says it is a very simple matter because of the simplicity of the burden. Okay, because it's a very simple what they mistakenly broke. وَيَسَارَتِهِ وَيَقُولْ نَصُومُ يَوْمًا مَكَانًا. He says simply we will just have to pray, we will just have to fast another 1 day after Ramadan in place of this 1 day that we have missed. وحدثني عن مالك النافع أن عبد الله بن عمر كان يقول يصوم قضاء رمضان متتابعا من أفطره من مرض أو في سفر. Okay, so this hadith is related to how to fast for the days that we missed in Ramadan. How do we fast for the days that we missed in Ramadan? Someone who missed 3 days due to sickness, someone who missed 3 days in Ramadan due to traveling, someone who missed 3 days due to nature, how do they fast? So Abdullah ibn Umar says that those who miss certain days of Ramadan, they will pay those certain days back mutatabi'an, consecutively. They will pay it back consecutively. Meaning to say, someone who was sick for 3 days in Ramadan, who broke fasting due to sickness or illness in Ramadan, so will have to fast 3 days after Ramadan. It may not be immediately. It is better to be immediately after Ramadan, but it doesn't have to be immediately after Ramadan. Okay? So, when he or she wants to repay back the fast, he has to fast for the 3 days consecutively, mutatabi'an. Not like I fast one one day this month, one day next month, one day the other month. No. He says, يَصُومُ قَضَاءَ رَمَضَانَ مُتَتَابِعًا مَنْ أَفْطَرَهُ مِنْ مَرَضٍ أَوْ فِي سَفَرٍ. Those who broke their fasting due to sickness or journey will have to pay it back consecutively, non-breaking. So that is hadith number 45. وحدثني عن مالك عن ابن شهاب أن عبد الله بن عباس وأبا هريرة اختلفا في قضاء رمضان فقال أحدهما يفرق بينه وقال الآخر لا يفرق بينه لا أدري أيهما قال يفرق بينه. Okay, so hadith number 45 is of the opinion that there should be no break in repaying back one's fasting. But hadith number 46 is of the opinion that there is no problem if one gives breaks during repaying back one's fasting. Okay, there is no harm in it. Okay, so meaning to say, it is optional. So when we have, there is no contradiction here actually. So we are given option, okay, because ikhtilaful ahimma rahmatan. So the different opinions that scholars have among themselves, or that they express among themselves, is to give leniency to the people, the ummah. So by this, the hadith number 45 was a bit hard. Hadith number 46 comes to ease the hardship. Okay, so now we have option in between the two. So those who can fast it consecutively, non-breaking, should do so. And those who think that due to their health issue, or due to their strength, or due to other factors, they cannot fast it consecutively, they should rest in between. So this is the case of hadith number 46. أن عبد الله ibn Abbas وأبا هريرة اختلفا في قضاء رمضان. That Abdullah ibn Abbas and Abu Huraira, both of them, they are of different opinions regarding paying back one's debt of Ramadan. Okay, so one goes for resting, okay, in between, and the other goes for not resting in between. Okay, other goes for not resting in between. Okay, so the one that goes for not resting in between is of the same opinion as Abdullah ibn Umar in Hadith 45. Okay, but Abdullah ibn Abbas, okay, the one that goes, we do not know who. Okay, because Malik did not mention. Okay, so we do not know who among Abdullah ibn Abbas and Abu Huraira was of the opinion for the breaking in between, and the other for not breaking in between. But if we take the sequence of the mentioning of the name, we will go for Abdullah ibn Abbas, go for La yufarriqu bainahu. Okay, we can rest in between, and Abu Huraira going for we cannot rest, we should fast it continuously. Okay, but it is not mentioned in the hadith who among the two is of which opinion, but both of them have this different opinion. And one of them is of the opinion that we can relax, we can break in between repaying back our fasting, and the other one is of the opinion that no, we just have to continue terrors. We don't have to break in between the paying back. Okay, but either of the two, so the option is ours. And we really have to be sincere to ourselves in this matter. So if we are capable of doing it, of fasting our debt of Ramadan consecutively, non-stoppingly, so if we have the ability, sincerely, so we should do it non-stoppingly. We should do it non-stoppingly. But if due to our illness and health issue, and we know ourselves and our health factor, so we could rest in between. So that is the case. It is a case of a matter of choice here. Okay, another hadith, hadith number 47, and Malik and Nafi and Abdullah ibn Umar, أنه كان يقول من استقاء وهو صائم فعليه القضاء ومن ذرعه القيء فليس عليه القضاء. So one of the factors that necessitate repaying back one's fasting in Ramadan, okay, is al-qayu, al-qayu, vomiting or throwing up, throwing out. Okay, so there are two cases here. If one intentionally vomits, okay, or we caused the formation, the throwing up to come, we are the cause of the vomit, okay, through too much of brushing teeth or putting toothpaste or toothpick in toothbrush deep into our throat until we eventually throw up or vomit. Okay, so in this kind, so the fasting is that fasting is nullified, and we have to pay back that 1 day fasting. It is qada. Okay, but if it is not intentional, the throwing up just came spontaneously, okay, unprepared, stomach irritation, or through weather or anything that we have no control over. So then we do not have to qada that day because it is not intentional. Okay, so that is the two cases here. Case number one again, one who intentionally vomits or throws out, and one who throws out unintentionally. So the first case, we have to pay back the 1 day. So the second day, we will not have to pay back because it is unintentional. So we read from hadith number 47. Okay, this was reported by Abdullah ibn Umar that man istaqa'a wa huwa sa'imun, anyone who caused himself to vomit while fasting, fa'alayhi al-qada'u, he has to pay back that day that he vomits in. Wa man dhara'ahu al-qay'u falaysa alayhi al-qada'u, but the one whose vomit overpowered, meaning to say, who vomits unintentionally, would not have to pay back the day. So the difference here is intentional vomiting and unintentional vomiting. So if it is caused by us, if we planned it or we worked towards it, or our action made it happen, then we have to pay back that 1 day. But if we knew nothing about it, it was unplanned, it was not in any, it was beyond our control, then we do not have to fast it back. So that is the explanation there. Hadith number 48. حدثني عن مالك عن يحيى ابن سعيد أنه سمع سعيد ابن المسيب يسأل عن قضاء رمضان فقال سعيد أحب إلي ألا يفرق قضاء رمضان وأن يواتر. Okay, أن لا يفرق قضاء رمضان وأن يواتر. Okay, يواتر يعني أن يكون متواترا، أن يتواتر في قضائه. So Yahya ibn Sa'id reports that he heard Sa'id ibn Musayyib being asked about paying back days that we missed in Ramadan. It's like someone asked Sa'id ibn Musayyib about how do we pay back the days that we missed in Ramadan? Okay, فقال سعيد. Sa'id says, Ahabbu ilayya, I prefer the most the most preferable option to me is Allah yufarraqa qada'u Ramadan, that we should not separate the days of paying back our soul, our fasting. Meaning to say, going back to hadith number 45, that it has to be fasted continuously and consecutively, non-breakingly. Remember, Sa'id says, Ahabbu ilayya, the best choice to me. Okay? He said, the best choice to me, I prefer fasting it consecutively without stopping. Okay, Muwatta, to be fasted once and for all. Okay, not stopping, without resting in between. قال يحيى سمعت مالكا يقول في من فرق قضاء رمضان فليس عليه إعادة وذلك مجزي عنه وأحب ذلك إلي أن يتابعه. Okay, Malik also says that anyone who relaxes during repayment of the days missed in Ramadan, okay, laysa alayhi i'ada, he doesn't have to start from the beginning again. He doesn't have to start afresh again. For a very simple example, someone missed 3 days in Ramadan. So he fasts one day this week, and he wished to relax for the rest of the week and wants to continue next week. Okay, when he wants to continue next week, it will be the second day for him. He does not have to start again from number 1. So that is what he means. He means here. Okay. Man farraqa qada'a Ramadan falaysa alayhi i'ada. He doesn't have to start from the beginning again. وَذَلِكَ مُجْزٍ عَنْهُ. So it is okay for him to relax days in between repayment. But according to Malik also, going along with Sa'id ibn Musayyib and going along with hadith number 45, Malik says, Ahabbu dhalika ilayya an yutabi'ahu. So the most beloved to me, my choice is that he should continue it non-breaking. Qala Malikun, man akala aw shariba fi Ramadan sahiyan aw nasiyan. Sahiyan yani sahwan nasiyan nisyanan. أو ما كان من صيام واجب عليه أن عليه قضاء يوم مكانه. Okay, Malik says the one who forgetfully, okay, who through forgetfulness ate or drank in Ramadan, okay, would have to pay back that one day. No kafara. Will have to pay back that one day. Okay? Man akala aw shariba fi Ramadan. The one who eats or drinks in Ramadan, sahiyan aw nasiyan, through forgetfulness. Okay? Fa alayhi an yasuma yawmin makanahu. He should pay, he will have to pay one day back in place of that day that he ate forgetfully. Okay? But again here, he started eating through forgetfulness. But when he remembers that he is fasting, he would have to stop immediately. And the rest of the bakiyat, the fudola al-ta'am, the remnant of food that is remaining in his throat that has not passed down, he should try as much as he could to bring it out. So that is not vomiting. That is not in the case of vomiting. Vomiting is bringing out what is in your stomach out. So, but this one has not passed to the stomach yet. It is still in the throat. Okay, so if he's capable of bringing it out, so he should. Then stop eating. Only pay back one day. But after remembering, he started eating or drinking forgetfully. But when he remembers that, oh, I'm fasting, he still continued drinking. He ate to his satisfaction and drank to his satisfaction. That is no more by mistake. So that has become intentional. And it will be kafara. Okay, so that is the explanation there. Man akala aw shariba Ramadan sahiyan aw nasiyan. Okay, and alayhi qada yawmin makanahu. That is number one. And number two, section number 2 in that hadith is that aw ma kana min siyamin wajibin alayhi, or anyone who forgetfully eat when he is fasting and obligatory fasting. Okay, for example, it is obligatory that we pay back Ramadan, the missing day, that the days that we missed in Ramadan. Okay, so when we are fasting, we are paying back the days that we missed in Ramadan. So we forgetfully eat again and drink again. Okay, so for that day, when we remember, we stop eating immediately, but we're still going to pay back that day in another day. So that is what it means that أَوْ مَا كَانَ مِنْ صِيَامٍ وَاجِبٍ عَلَيْهِ أَنَّ عَلَيْهِ قَضَاءُ ذَا يَوْمٍ مَكَانَهُ. Okay. وحدثني حديث number 49 وحدثني عن مالك عن حميد ابن قيس المكي أنه أخبره قال كنت مع مجاهد وهو يطوف بالبيت فجاءه إنسان فسأله عن صيام أيام الكفارة أمتتابعات أم يقطعها؟ قال حميد قلت له نعم يقطعها إن شاء. قال مجاهد لا يقطعها فإنها في قراءة أبي ابن كعب 3 أيام متتابعات. Okay. قال مالك وأحب إلي أن يكون ما سمى الله في القرآن يصام متتابعا. Okay, so this hadith number 49 is related through Malik from Humayd ibn Qais al-Makki that he had the information that kuntu ma mujahidin, I was with Mujahid wa huwa yatufu bil bayt, when he was performing tawaf. I was making tawaf with Mujahid, and someone came to ask him about fasting, about the kafara fasting, how to fast for the fasting of kafara, like the 60 days consecutive fasting. How do we fast it? Am mutatabi'atin am yaqta'uha? Do we have to fast it consecutively, or we can fast it, we can relax in between? We can alternate the fasting days. Qala Humaydun faqultu lahu na'am yaqta'uha in sha'a. So Humayd said, I replied to the person that if he so wishes, if he likes, he can fast it alternately, meaning to say fast and relax, fast and rest for several days if he likes. Then Mujahid says la yaqta'uha. No, I says that he should not, he cannot rest, he cannot fast it alternately, he has to fast it consecutively, because according to the recitation of Ubay ibn Ka'b, he recites the ayah, the ayah of Thalathata Ayyam, followed by mutatabi'at, by saying Thalathati Ayyamin mutatabi'at, 3 consecutive days. So meaning to say, if we apply this to the 60 days, it has to be Shahrain mutatabi'ain, so 2 consecutive months. Okay, qala Malikum wa ahabbu ilayya an yakuna ma samma Allahu fil Quran yusam mutatabi'an. So the option of Malik is, according to him, he says, my choice is that it should be according to the stipulation of the Quran, meaning it should be as stipulated in the Quran. Because the Quran mentioned yusamu mutatabi'an. It has to be fasted consecutively. It says shahrain mutatabi'ain. 2 consecutive months. وَسُئِلَ مَالِكٌ عَنِ الْمَرْأَةِ تُصْبِحُ صَائِمًا فِي رَمَضَانَ فَتَدْفَعُ دُفْعَةً مِنْ دَمٍ أبيت في غير أوان هيدها ثم تنتظر حتى تمسي أن ترى مثل ذلك فلا ترى شيئا ثم تصبح يوما آخر فتدفع دفعة أخرى وهي دون الأولى ثم ينقطع ذلك عنها قبل حيضتها بأيام فسئل مالك كيف تصنع في صيامها وصلاتها قال مالك ذلك الدم من الحيض فإذا رأته فلتفطر ولتقضي ما أفطرت فإذا ذهب عنها الدم فلتغتسل وتصوم. So this situation is about a woman who during the day of fasting, she started the day fasting in Ramadan. Okay, she started the day by fasting, but towards the midday, she noticed nature coming out of her. Okay, so she noticed the menstrual circulation. A splint of blood was noticed. So then she waited until night of that day and nothing more. So she counted it as she was fasting. So, okay, she continued until sahur of the next day. She didn't see anything and she took her sahur normal and continued fasting during the day. But during the day, the same thing was repeated. She noticed the splint of blood again in her. So this case was inquired to Malik. Okay, so what does she have to do? What is the solution here? So Malik replied that so those 2 days' blood were actually from the haida, from the monthly cycle, from the menstrual cycle. It should be taken and calculated as menstrual cycle. Okay, although they came earlier before the actual menstruation day of the woman. Okay, but they will be calculated as such. So the woman, the solution is she should stop fasting when that happens. Then pays back the missed days after Ramadan. So that is the solution that was given. Okay, so Malik says, okay, ذَلِكَ الدَّمُ مِنَ الْحَيْضِ. So that blood that she noticed was from the menstrual cycle. فَإِذَا رَأَتْهُ فَلِتُفْتِرْ. When she sees it, if a woman sees that, she should break her fasting immediately. Pay back the day after Ramadan. فَإِذَا ذَهَبَ عَنْهَا الدَّمُ فَلْتَغْتَسِلْ وَتَصُومْ. So when the fasting is gone, when the haida or the menstrual cycle stops, then she should purify herself, take purification bath or the spiritual bathing. Then she can fast in place of that missing day afterward. وَسُئِلَ أَمَّنْ أَسْلَمَ فِي آخِرِ يَوْمٍ فِي رَمَضَانَ هَلْ عَلَيْهِ قَضَاءُ رَمَضَانَ كُلِّهِ أَوْ يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ قَضَاءُ الْيَوْمِ الَّذِي أَسْلَمَ فِيهِ فَقَالَ لَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ قَضَاءُ مَا مَضَى وَإِنَّمَا يَسْتَأْنِفُ الصِّيَامَ فِيمَا يُسْتَقْبَلُ وَأَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ أَنْ يَقْضِيَ الْيَوْمَ الَّذِي أَسْلَمَ فِيهِ. Okay, another scenario is someone who was a non-Muslim before. Okay, who was a non-Muslim, but he became Muslim. Okay, he accepted Islam at the last day of Ramadan. At the last day of Ramadan, he was non-Muslim before, but he became Muslim. He accepted Islam the last day of Ramadan. So meaning at the last day of Ramadan, he was a Muslim. So what does he have to do? Such a person, what would he have to do? Would he have to pay back the whole Ramadan, 30 days? Or he should just pay back one day that he became Muslim in? Or what is the case? What is the situation? Okay, so su'ila amman aslama fi akhir yawmin min Ramadan. So Imam Malik was inquired about person one who becomes Muslim at the last day of Ramadan. Hal alayhi qada'u Ramadan kullihi. Does he have to pay back the whole 30 days of Ramadan? Aw yajibu alayhi qada'u al-yawm alladhi aslama fihi. Or just after, he only has to pay back one day during which he accepted Islam. So faqala, Malik replied saying, Laysa alayhi qada'u ma mada. As to the past days of Ramadan, the last 29 days of Ramadan, during which he was non-Muslim, Laysa alayhi qada'u ma mada. He does not have to pay them. He does not have to pay them because the fasting was not prescribed upon him at that time, at those days. Okay? The call was, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed unto you. So that for 29 days fast in Ramadan, he was not under the category of al-ladhina amanu. So the kutiba was not on him. So he became Muslim on the last day, so only that one day is what is imperative on him. Okay? Wa innama, according to this, innama yastanifu siyama fima yustaqbalu. Okay, he will only have to fast, okay, the days ahead of him. Okay? So wa ahabbu ilayya an yaqdiya al-yawma alladhi aslama fihi. So the best option to me is that he pays back only the day that he became Muslim in, only for the day that he became Muslim. Another option is that throughout that Ramadan is already gone. You only have to wait for the next Ramadan before he starts fasting. Okay, either of the option is okay. Such a person has the option to choose. Okay, so that is where we are going to stop for today. It is Maghrib time here, so we are going to, inshallah, meet again, continue on this the paying back and the kafara discussion tomorrow. Bi-idhnillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further show His mercy and rahmah upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household and companions. We ask Allah to reward our parents abundantly, those of them who have fulfilled their promise and covenant to Allah. May Allah have mercy on their soul and make their abodes nearing the abode of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We pray for our ustad, our mashayikh, our asatidha, our muallimin, teachers and ulama, and those in their category, and anyone who have impacted anything in us that have shaped our personality. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them abundantly for it, whether they know it or they know it not, whether in huge form or in small quantity. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with beneficial knowledge. Allahumma allimna ma jahilna wanfa'na bima allamtana وبارك لنا في علمنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. نكتفي بهذا إن شاء الله حتى نلتقي غدا في حلقة آخر بإذن الله، وبالله التوفيق والهداية، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله.